everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. On this segment of the vlog, I'm going to be explaining to you what a spiritual awakening is, not only on a physical level, but also on a non-physical level. And we're going to go through with 10 different symptoms and signs that are going to show you and tell you that you're going through a spiritual awakening. Throughout the video, I will be looking at some of my notes that I've been writing down, so if you see me look off to the side, that will be why. A spiritual awakening in all sense is just this shift of consciousness, of knowing that you are now opening up to another reality that is actually very presently here. It's an understanding and a recognition of oneness of all that is and all that's here. That also leads us into law of polarities, because the law of polarities says where there is bad, there is good. Where there is highs, there is lows. Where there's ups and there's downs. So, and thus it talks about the spiritual awakening, assuring you that anything that you have received on the opposite, you will receive on the other opposite. So if you've been going through a period of bad, you're going to start going through a period of good, and vice versa. But a spiritual awakening, though, and ascension is not generally an overnight process. It's the initiation of spiritual path that may create many different awakenings. In fact, awakenings have been happening for some time, even if they haven't realized it most recently. And a lot of people are starting to spiritually awaken because of the fact of the pandemic and so much loss and grief that we went through. And a spiritual awakening can happen from being traumatically put into it, or sporadically being put into a spiritual awakening, which leads us into our first part of our spiritual awakening, the awakening process. This is going to be number 1. So this is where you start to where you're wanting to build a community, and you're wanting to do things that is more harmonious, and you're wanting to do something that's more humanitarian, and you're wanting to do good for others. This is what starts enlightening you to where you're letting go of things. You're not really focusing on how they hurt you or why they hurt you. You may also be developing a really strong sense of assisting humans, assisting animals, or healing the planet. This will be where things are coupled with the fact that there's very low tolerance to entertaining petty arguments or lower negatively charged conversations, and even many social structures that you once believed to be inevitable. You simply don't have time for those things anymore. You start to release anybody that has that lower mindset of things will never get better. And you start to, it's not that you will be inhumane to them or belittling in a sense. It's more the fact that you start to see yourself organically going in a different pathway because of the way that your electromagnetic field is actually going higher in a sense, because you're meeting that enlightenment moment, you're meeting that evolution moment. This is where you also start to feel yourself less interested in gossip and trivial conversations that carries little significance to the purpose of what you're feeling. In fact, negative encounters may even make you feel very sick. At times, due to your own releasing of negative vibration and energy, you're going to feel where the room just does not feel comfortable anymore. You're going to be feeling like you're out of your skin, and people that you used to adore or want to be around, all of a sudden it's just every time they speak, it's just more of an unnerving type of feeling to you. It just doesn't resonate to you, and it doesn't feel comfortable. Now, with a spiritual awakening, there's many phases to it, and the first and the last one are the ones that are set in stone and they don't move around. Everything in the middle can happen very sporadic. The first one is the awakening. It happens sporadically or traumatically. This is where you start to forgive and let go. You have an awareness of reality and you're living within your truth. The second one is bliss. This is where you are wanting to learn everything and have everything and get all the knowledge of all of everything. Third one is healing. This is where your physical body and experiences start to change and your senses start to heighten. This is also where you start to want to be more within nature and healing and doing something for humanity. Now, the fourth one is an energy spike or fog. This is where your vibrational energy is evolving, so a lot of people will be falling off of your frequency wave. You'll be detaching from people, you'll be kind of isolating yourself a little bit, and most people will be asking you if you're okay, but you just don't really want to reach out anymore. And then also this will be where you're starting to have a lot of forgetfulness, because the fact that you're going so drastically high from your original form of frequency that now all this information is like opening you up in a sense. And this is where grounding can be very helpful. Now, 5 is depression. It's exactly how it is named. You go through depression, anxiety, kind of like a withdrawal of like, okay, am I doing the right thing? Am I moving in the right direction? I don't understand why everybody's leaving. And you have this overwhelming thought that everybody always leaves. Then you have 6, which is release and growth. This here is another one of the 4 that end up being kind of like, more of like the 5 that end up being more of like where they mix around. It's the releasing, grounding, and the growth. With number 6 being the release, the grounding, and the growth, this is where you're releasing any lingering individuals that just stay on a negative vibration. You're also releasing anything that you can no longer control. If you cannot control a situation, you just have no more time for it. And the grounding is where you really are pulling yourself out of the depression. You're focusing on the fact that you're trying to do the best that you can for yourself. And then you pop into the purpose, which is number 7. This is the one that is also set in stone. Purpose is finding your gifts and finding the realization that there is more to life than just what is physical. And on top of that, it is you understanding and realizing that you are the creator of your own world. So that first part that we just talked about, that would be the awakening itself. That's going to be the first thing that is set in stone. You're going to have awakening before you experience anything else. And then the last one will be the purpose, which we'll get into. And that's where you have that evolutionary type mindset. But right now what we're going to talk about is the bliss factor, the awareness, and then also the healing. The bliss factor is going to be where you feel more comfortable being your authentic self and have a strong desire to live in your truth. However, you're noticing things that are coming up, like trauma, which will be leading into inner child work or shadow work. Also, as you navigate through a spiritual awakening, you will find that others are not on the same wavelength as you. It'll cause different issues, and at first this may be very disheartening because you're starting to lose a lot of friends, a lot of connections, and you're going through this like very troubling time of starting to let go of the ego, which in psychology this is called ego death. And this is whenever you're letting go of who you knew to be yourself, and now you're turning a chapter and you're somebody completely new. You kind of feel a little bit lost. And at first this may be completely disheartening or even difficult because you may have the desire for these individuals that you brought into this awakening with. You may want to see them also thriving and being on the same length as you are. That won't always be the case. And you want to see and experience things that the way that you do with them. However, as you assist others with their own spiritual awakening and merely by being in their presence, there comes a lessening of attachment to their current space. And so with that there, you start to move into what authentically makes you happy, as you don't require attention or acceptance from anybody anymore. You more or less actually start to see your own value in your own essence. And you follow your spiritual path easily, and you unapologetically live in a way that aligns with your deepest spiritual desires for yourself and for all. And that's what leads us into the factor of having more awareness of who we are and having an awareness of what we want to do. This is where we start having that gift that will pop up. So telekinesis, mediumship, aura seeing, that kind of thing. So you have this awareness, right, that's starting to pop in. This is number 3. All of this reality that goes beyond the physical senses. You may be discovering that much of what you've learned in your lifetime has been a fail, and it's designed to show itself at just the right moment so that you begin to explore otherworldly explanations about reality. And so a lot of the times we have people where they will go completely into spirituality or completely into skepticism in this point, because a lot of people will either be looking and searching for something to heal their internal self because they don't want it to be as bad as it is, or they'll go into the skeptical sense of why would this happen if this person exists. And so it moves us into seeing beyond an illusion. We also feel a sense of great mystery and a strong desire to uncover truth regarding that information. So that's where we'll be questioning everything, trying to figure out everything, trying to gain knowledge, reading all the books, buying all the materials, buying crystals, asking questions, and why we are here. We'll be asking that question the most. We'll be asking our purpose. We'll be trying to search for that purpose. You may even feel as though you want to go home, as if you don't belong here anymore. You may also have the strong desire to gain knowledge of new spiritual practices as a means to connect with divine wisdom and deeper understanding. And this is where you're going to start having that next fourth sense that's going to be popping in. Your physical body is no longer feeling like it's tolerant of things that was your body. So you'll be feeling more of like a new spiritual realization and want to integrate your life. For example, you may be encountering food allergies that are brand new, or feel a strong desire to change your overall diet, health, and exercise. You may even feel the urge to cleanse yourself of toxins, such as eating more organically or taking in vitamins, or the need to be in nature more. Just as the consciousness goes through a big shift and a spiritual awakening, so does the body, as the cellular structures begin to change to accommodate higher frequencies within the body. So all of the molecular parts of your system and all of the cells and the organs and the energy that is now being burst awakened, which is going to be your chakra, which is along your spine. The chakra is the energy that is flowing through your spinal cord and also around your brain. And it's connecting into the electromagnetic currency that is on the outside of your body, which is also called an aura. Now, as you start to experience a new level of consciousness regarding your everyday physical health, let's kind of recap. So in number 1, we have the awakening. Number 2, we have where we're starting to have that higher knowing. And number 3 is where we're starting to let go of individuals that no longer serve that purpose for us to meet our highest potential, because they're not seeing what we're seeing and they're not trying to open themselves to that. Number 4 is going to be the fact of starting to realize the healing that needs to happen. So in all of that, you're having that shadow work, that inner child work, the learning about chakras, the learning about auras and crystals, and wanting to learn all of the spiritual concepts. Number 5 up to 10 are going to be where you're actually trying to find that grounding sense to yourself, okay? Number 5, I like to explain it as your physical senses are starting to pick up on new things and indicate a heightened perception. Some experiences seeing things such as shimmering objects, which I always tell you guys, I see the spirits very peripherally, like shimmering, and then I also see them where whenever they're coming in and they're very close to that individual, they'll start showing like a fog, a smog, or like a little black dot right in front of me. Now, as your perception starts to heighten, some experiences seeing things such as those shimmering objects that I was talking about, the white or glittery particles and auras of people, animals, or objects. Many people also started to report a ringing of the ears, or even hearing beeps and tones. And the ringing of the ears or the tickling of the fingers is the connection into spirituality. That is literally mediumship. The tingling of the fingers or any type of the outer part of the body is you connecting into that electromagnetic field and feeling it on yourself. The ringing in the left ear is a message that is being delivered, and a dinging in the right ear is either a message that has been delivered or a message that was missed. Okay, so remember, left ear is message coming in, right ear, if it's irritating and it's itchy, then that means that it was missed. And then if it's just dinging, it means that it was delivered. And so seeing and hearing unusual things indicates that experiences are very, very different. Not everybody is going to be exactly the same. They're going to experience things that are very uniquely different to themselves. However, the spiritual awakening does have common concepts across the board. Seeing and hearing unusual things indicates the experience of different dimensions and a connection to a new energy. You may find yourself waking up at night often, especially between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. These are known as the cleansing and releasing hours. This is time when many things are going on in the dream state, and a person may need to leave this state by waking up momentarily or to take a break. Now, whenever you guys are in this dream state, your body naturally and organically is thrusting you awake because of the fact of the frequency is too high. And just like if you guys are coming into spirituality, you can feel if something is off because the fact you start to feel very scared, intimidated, uncomfortable, and worried. And that's because the fact all that's happening is you're coming into a higher form of frequency and you're hesitant a little bit, or you're very much like, let's do this. I want to know what this is, because of the fact that different people have different reactions based off of that connection of their auric field that's actually connecting into that force field that is there now. Number 6, you are experiencing short-term memory loss of an identity, feelings of inner turmoil, and or feelings of being outside of your body. You have a sense of being disconnected from this world, and these things indicate the experiences of being in more than one dimension at a time. As you begin to awaken to spirituality and descend in your consciousness, you elevate to different states of vibrational energy. This will cause you to rise above your normal 3D experience of reality, and you may find yourself going back and forth as a part of this transition and even experiencing some disconnects. You may also be experiencing a clearing away of old patterns as you begin to embody a truer version of who you are and align with your spiritual essence, which would be your higher self. The old you will have identified with an old paradigm. Therefore, your body will begin to adjust accordingly to the new ones to catch up with your conscious shift. Now, whenever that's happening in six is a huge transition because you're coming. So 5 is coming into that gift and having that awareness, and now all of a sudden, this is in 6. This is where you have to do that grounding. You have to do that sacral work. You have to do that solar plexus work. So you have to really do all of that physical healing first to connect into your connective chakra, which is that heart, and then being able to connect into your spiritual chakra, which is your throat, your third eye, and your crown. And if you're not doing that healing, what happens is you're thrusted all the way back around to start from the very beginning again, because as everybody knows, a spiritual awakening does not just happen once. We go through several different spiritual awakenings to expand our consciousness and expand our knowledge as well as evolve. And so number 7 is where we start to experience a sudden change of disappearance of habits, social circles, daily activities, careers, or even the overall path that we thought we needed to be on, but now we have shifted it. This indicates that you are evolving and that your previous surroundings no longer match your vibration. Your physical circumstances will be in a state of being rebalanced, and you may find your life going in a completely different direction than you thought it would. So if you're coming out of that spiritual awakening and you're not liking what you're seeing in front of you and things are a little bit shifted, you are going to have to go back and reground yourself again and start from a very basic bottom of working with the root and build yourself back up, because in the grounding it will pop into another evolution of telling you what needs to be fixed and what needs to be worked on. And a lot of time people will think, okay, well, I'm done with this spiritual awakening. I'm going to be okay for a while. I can just leave it. It's really unfortunate at that, the fact that these things are happening right now in this one, but I'm hoping the next one will be better. You don't have to hope. You can literally redo the work, go back in, figure out what you're missing if you're suppressing something with that shadow, or else if there's a trauma that's linking to the inner child. And then as you start to work on that, you can move yourself through that spiritual awakening that you just came out of and evolved into to shift your life path to be able to evolve into something more for yourself. And as long as you're really putting out that positive affirmation with that positive intention, you are doing law of attraction and law of one at the exact same time. So the portion of the ego that is intact then becomes afraid, right? And this is where we start going into number 8. You are experiencing anxieties, panic attacks, or depression, and not everyone will experience this. But for those who do, when you begin to embrace a sense of oneness with their universe, the ego loses much of itself. And again, this goes back into what psychologists refer to as ego death, which is completely the loss of oneself or the subjective self-identity. This creates confusion and vulnerability as patterns of survival needed in a 3D reality begin to fade away because they are no longer needed. Additionally, I wanted to point out that the symptoms indicate that the outer world is not yet in alignment with the inner vibrational person of who you have become, which may not feel very good. Our emotions are our outlet for release, and the more we release, the more we are able to ascend and awaken to a new, lighter reality. If you are experiencing these symptoms, know that it will pass and that feelings of love, freedom, security, and unity will come rushing in to take their place. Once the ego has completely surrendered to the process, you will absolutely start to feel that grounding and that purpose. And so let's kind of recap so we get to this point. Number 1, we have where the spiritual awakening happens sporadically or traumatically. Number 2, we have where 2, 3, and 4, and 5 kind of like all mix around, and they can happen at any different time. Number 2 is going to be that bliss where you're coming in and you want to know everything, you want to learn everything, you want to do everything. Then number 3 is going to be where you're starting to do that healing, being awoken to the fact of what you need, knowing that there's things that need to be settled. And then number 4 is going to be that you are going through the process of healing, but you're also letting go of vibrational energy that is hindering your path from being able to evolve, and that you are trying to morph into something that is more for yourself. And then in 6 and 7 and 8, we are coming into an essence of knowing that evolutionary aspect of us, seeing our gifts, feeling our gifts, hearing our gifts, learning different things about gifts. And then also at the same time, we are breaking off that part of us that kept us hindered in something that our conscious knew that was not for us. We're starting to find that purpose. Number 9, you are experiencing vivid or lucid dreaming often and or increased intuition. Vivid or lucid dreaming may seem very real and come with very real messages. For you, many say that in their dreams, they know they are not actually dreaming at all. They are aware of the fact that they are dreaming, and or it feels as if they are awake within the dream. These dreams may also assist you in releasing lower vibrational energy, so you can ascend more quickly. You may also find your intuition is quite heightened at this point. You just know things without physical evidence on the front end and rely more on your gut instinct. You may even have flashes of visions or other sensory perceptions throughout your waking hours. And number 10, you open up to the realization that you are the creator of your life, and you begin to take more responsibility for your thoughts, your decisions, and your actions, which make up your overall dominant vibration. Dominant vibration is the aspect of mindfulness and controlling the emotions that you push out into the world and you pull in into your vibrational megahertz of energy. You may even begin to see many patterns and synchronicities that confirm this, such as repeating numbers, patterns, or being in complete alignment with others and situations that match your vibrational frequency. A spiritual awakening in the process of ascension is a rediscovery of who and what you are spiritually. Having a human experience, it's an ongoing process of realizing and expanding. It washes away any social conditioning and also nourishes its own deeper understanding and connection with the inner being. All it is realization that all that you are experiencing with your awakening is going to be okay. You may find that some parts of this is very jagged and all over the place, and I apologize for that, but this is such a huge concept that I believe if you're going to go into spirituality, this is something that should be your foundation and a very thorough understanding. Also, you may find that some parts of it jar you, and you may find many other parts of it to be exhilarating. Know that all is as it should be, and you're divinely loved and intended for greatness. So please make sure that as you guys go through a spiritual awakening, you follow what you believe to be your truth. You trust in your path that you're going on. And if you meet it with resistance, you will have resistance. If you meet it with excitement, you will have excitement. And if you meet it with knowledge, wisdom, and excitement, you will be able to pull yourself out of each and every spiritual awakening that you go through. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this was very beneficial information for you. Please make sure to check out my other YouTubes that are coming up. I will be discussing aura fields and chakra, law of attraction, law of one, and law of paradigm. There's so much that I'm going to be publishing that I can't wait for you guys to experience.